Still here with Sirius Talis Moon, and continuing on, we have some news. Uranus said now, and I've been talking about this thing. By the way, I'm not the only person that was made to do this thing when I was tortured. That there was a nervous system hack, and then I was channeling, but they were trying to make me do that peace sign, and I did not know what it is. Um, then I was shown around the fingerprints now because I was doing water expands upon cooling back then, and I was taking a look at the bigger phenomena in a series of cold cases that was first brought to television in Netherlands. The person that was the journalist was also made to do that peace sign on the plane, and completely different contexts. Um, but then I was told that peace sign has to do with double agents, and I had no idea. And anyway, I stopped doing that, and became more. Basically, I became more conscious about what it means. But I stopped doing that because there was some help with the horrible violations that um, the target. Also, people that tend to that. But here is the response to the fact that hackers can use the fingerprint. Now, here is what I knew since around maybe my teenage years. The fingerprints is not a complete identification. But another thing that comes to mind is limiting the finger gestures of people rather than addressing the issue at hand. For example, when I talked about the weird hand gestures, I talked about the fact that it's also a nervous system hack, or that it can come for people that try to do channeling experiments. Um, and I addressed also the torture as a component between the people that had somehow the way out of violence, and if they had some way that could to seek healing and so on and so forth. So they became survivors, and the people that didn't became war criminals. The other option was that people died. And so limiting the freedom of movement of people is not a security solution. With this age of air, it all points to wealth redistribution that honors the sense of self. So it's both abolishing rape culture and honoring the sense of self, or honoring the feminine and the wealth redistribution factor. Not everything is public. Think about the self. If the body is public, it was public, then we wouldn't have concepts such as self pleasure. And then we wouldn't have concepts such as sexuality. Um, in fact, in societies where the bodies are considered public, there is a high prevalence of crimes against humanity. um, it all points out to abolishing basically what we call ritual abuse, that which violates the sense of self. While pertaining that there is a veil of ignorance on the identity, and it basically, it how should I say that, the confusion around identity is supported by people having, let's say, what would they do if they knew that the person was XYZ, but it's the torture component that turns a person into a criminal against humanity. Supportive Neptune aspect, for example, I currently have a supportive Neptune aspect. Neptune sextiles my Chiron. So I'm able to talk to you, yeah, about the structure of what generates criminals against humanity while having, you know, while sitting in a restaurant rather than committing crimes against humanity, or being dead for, even being dead is not something that was, and I addressed it in the previous episode, that wasn't even something that was possible. People with favorable aspects from Neptune to their personal planets um, may have more access to choice than others, and it can accentuate in different forms. Now, even within those, let you not idealize that. Okay, the people that hear me speaking clearly, and like, how should I say that? I hope you do not idealize for you. Like, I'm the one living my life, but for people that idealize my life, I really hope that they don't. For them. um, and um, And I think that this is going to be where that veil of ignorance is playing a role where, on the one hand, it's difficult to catch, let's say, the origin of the person who committed, let's say, certain crime. But with Senna, the structure that generates criminals become very apparent because in the absence of ability to see people, we look at patterns. And then we look at the pattern, for example, as there is more rape culture, we know that there can be a false flag. That's a pattern. Um, this is why I say derive the inspiration from things that support orgasmic birthing lineages. Um, hmm? Yeah.